My stepmom charged me rent for living in her house. She didn't know it was secretly mine. I was 19 the first time my stepmom told me I didn't live there for free. She said it casually, like she was reminding me to take out the trash. If you're going to stay here after graduation, she said, scrolling on her phone, you need to start contributing. $800 a month sounds fair. $800. For the bedroom I lived in since I was 6. For the house my grandparents had bought outright 30 years ago. For the home my father promised would always be mine. I didn't argue. Not because I agreed, but because arguing with Linda was pointless. Linda didn't yell. She didn't insult you outright. She smiled while she pushed you into a corner and waited for you to suffocate. My dad sat on the couch beside her, quiet, eyes glued to the TV like it might save him. I looked at him. He didn't look back. That's when I understood something important. I didn't have a stepmom problem. I had a father problem. The house everyone thought was dad's from the outside. The house looked like money. 4 bedrooms, white stone exterior, big backyard, quiet suburban street. Everyone assumed my dad bought it when his construction business took off. That was the story Linda loved to tell. What almost no one knew, what she definitely didn't know, was that the house was bought by my grandparents long before Linda existed. They paid cash. They never put my dad's name on it. They put it in a trust for me. I didn't know that either, not until much later. All I knew growing up was that my grandparents were careful. They loved my dad, but they didn't trust him with money. He was generous to a fault, especially with the wrong people. Like Linda, she came into our lives when I was 12. My mom had passed away 2 years earlier. Dad was lonely. Linda was charming. She brought 2 kids with her, Mark and Jenna, both older than me, both allergic to work. At first, she played the role perfectly. Packed lunches, school events, family dinners, then she married my dad, and slowly, everything changed. How I became a guest in my own home by the time I turned 16. The house didn't feel like mine anymore. Mark took over the garage for his music career. Jenna claimed the bigger bedroom because girls need space. Linda redecorated everything, boxed up my mom's old photos, replaced them with abstract art she didn't even like. Anytime I pushed back, Linda would sigh dramatically. You're being very territorial, she'd say. This isn't just your house anymore. My dad never defended me, not once. So when she demanded $800 rent, I wasn't shocked. I was exhausted. I worked part-time while attending community college. I paid her every month, on time. She raised it to $900 after 6 months. Utilities are expensive, she said. Mark and Jenna paid nothing. They were figuring themselves out. The day everything started to crack, the first real crack came when my dad had a stroke. Not a big one, but big enough. Hospital, weeks of recovery, medical bills. Linda took over everything. Bills, accounts, mail. She started calling the house hers. When my dad came home, quieter and weaker, she started talking for him. He agrees with me. We decided together. He doesn't need the stress. One afternoon, I came home to find my bedroom door locked. My things were stacked in boxes. Linda stood there, arms crossed. We need that room, she said. Jenna's boyfriend is moving in. I stared at her. That's my room, she smiled. Not if you're just renting. That night, I slept on a mattress in the basement, and that's when I made a decision. I wasn't going to fight her. I was going to outlast her. The call that changed everything. 6 months later, my dad died in his sleep. Linda cried loudly at the funeral, held on to people a little too long, talked about how lost she was. 2 weeks after the burial, she slid a document across the table. I'll need you to sign this, she said. It was a lease agreement, $200 a month. My name wasn't even spelled right. Pushed it back. I'm moving out, I said. She didn't look worried. Good, she said. Don't forget you still owe rent for this month. I packed that night. As I was loading my car, my phone rang. Unknown number. Is this Daniel? A man asked. Yes. This is Mr. Halvorsen. I was your grandparents' attorney. My stomach dropped. They asked me to contact you after your father passed, he said. There's something you need to know about the house. I sat on the curb, cold, shaking, and for the first time in my life, I realized Linda had no idea what was coming. In fact, dresses and satthood. Part 2. The house was never in her name. I didn't go home that night. I sat in my car for almost an hour after hanging up with the attorney, engine off, staring at the front of the house like it might blink first. Everything suddenly felt unreal. That house or house was the center of my entire childhood. Every argument, every power play, every reminder that I was just living there. And now a stranger had just told me it never belonged to her. It never even belonged to my dad. I called the attorney back. Can we meet tomorrow? I asked. Of course, he said. I'll explain everything. The truth my grandparents hid on purpose. Mr. Halvorsen's office smelled like old paper and coffee. He was in his late 70s. Sharp eyes, calm voice, the kind of man who had seen families tear themselves apart over money and learned not to flinch. He opened a thick folder and slid it toward me. Your grandparents created a trust 23 years ago, he said. 3 months before your mother passed. My throat tightened. They bought the house outright, he continued. They placed it into the trust with you as the sole beneficiary. I blinked. Sole? Yes, he said. Not your father, not future spouses, just you. I felt dizzy. Why wouldn't they tell anyone? I asked. He gave a small, sad smile. Because they loved your father, he said. And they didn't trust him to protect it. He flipped a page. The trust allowed your father to live in the home for life, he said. But ownership was never transferred. Upon his death, the house automatically becomes yours. No probate, no delays. My hands started shaking. The trust and check what about Linda? I asked. He sighed. She has no legal claim. Not as a spouse, not as a a resident, not as anything. I swallowed hard. She's been charging me rent. That made him frown. How much? I told him. He leaned back in his chair. That money was taken under false pretenses, he said carefully. And that's going to matter. When the power shift finally happened, I didn't tell Linda right away. Not because I was scared, but because I wanted to do this right. Mr. Halvorsen warned me not to confront her directly. People who think they own something they don't, he said, tend to react badly when reality shows up. Instead, he filed the paperwork. Quietly. Deeds transferred. Trust executed. Title updated. Legally, the house was mine. Linda didn't know yet. She still thought she was in charge. 3 days later, she texted me. Linda, rent is late. $200,000 plus utilities. Don't make this difficult. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I forwarded it to my attorney. He replied with one sentence. Good. Save everything. The first crack in her confidence, I went back to the house a week later. Not to move in. Just to get some things I'd left behind. Linda was in the kitchen when I walked in, sipping coffee like a queen surveying her kingdom. She looked surprised but not worried. Oh, she said. I thought you moved out. I did, I said. She nodded toward the hallway. Grab your junk quickly. Jenna has a showing later. I froze. A showing? She smiled. We're refinancing, she said. Market's good, might even sell. I almost laughed. Almost that so? I said. Yes, she said confidently. I'll finally be free of this place. I looked around the kitchen. The counters my grandparents picked. The cabinets my grandfather installed himself. The walls where my mom once stood, smiling. Linda, I said calmly, who told you that you could sell this house? Her smile tightened. My husband owned it, she snapped. Now I do. I didn't correct her. I just nodded. Okay, I said. Good luck with that. For the first time, she looked uncertain. When reality hit her like a brick 2 days later, Linda called me. Not texted. Called. I answered. Her voice was tight, forced calm. The bank says there's an issue with the title, she said. They're saying the house isn't in my name. I said nothing. They're saying it was never in my name, she continued. Do you know anything about that? I took a breath. Yes, I said. Silence. What do you mean, yes? She asked. I mean, I said slowly. The house belongs to me. She laughed. A sharp, panic sound. Don't be ridiculous. I'm not, I said. My grandparents put it in a trust. She started yelling. You're lying! Your father would have told me. This is fraud. I waited. Then I said the words that changed everything. My attorney already filed the paperwork. Dead silence. Then you can't do this, she whispered. I didn't do anything, I said. I just stopped letting you pretend. She hung up. The panic phase within hours. My phone blew up. Calls from Mark. Texts from Jenna. Voicemails from numbers I didn't recognize. Flack accused me of trying to steal his childhood home. Jenna cried. Said she had nowhere to go. Linda left a voicemail that started calm and ended screaming. You think you've won? She shouted. I will ruin you. I will drag this out forever. She didn't understand yet. There was nothing to drag out. The law was already done. All that was left was enforcement. Part 3. Eviction notices and meltdowns. Mr. Halvorsen didn't waste time. The morning after Linda's meltdown, he emailed me copies of the documents he prepared overnight. Formal notice to vacate, addressed to Linda by name, and separately to Mark and Jenna as unauthorized adult occupants. 30 days. No negotiations, no extensions. This isn't personal, my attorney said on the phone. It's procedural, and that's exactly why it will work. I didn't deliver the notices myself. A process server did. At 9:17 a.m. on a Tuesday, Linda called me at 9:26. She was screaming. You can't evict me from my own house, I let her yell. About betrayal, about family, about how my grandparents would be ashamed. When she finally stopped to breathe, I spoke. You've been charging me rent for a house you didn't own, I said. You changed the locks. You removed my belongings. You threatened eviction, she laughed bitterly. So now you're playing landlord, she snapped. No, I said. You were. Then I hung up. The freeloader revolt Mark showed up at my work that afternoon. I hadn't seen him in over a year. I hadn't seen same greasy hair, same band t-shirt, same smell of entitlement. He leaned against my truck like it belonged to him. You really doing this? He asked. I already did it, I said. You can't kick us out, he said. We've lived there for years. You lived there because Linda let you, I said. She didn't own it, neither do you, he scoffed. So what, you're just gonna throw family on the street? I looked him dead in the eye. You're not my family. He punched my truck. I called the police. He left before they arrived. Linda's legal bluff. 2 days later, I got a letter from a law firm. Threatening tone. Lots of bold text. They claimed Linda had established tenancy rights and that any eviction would be challenged. Mr. Halvorsen smiled when he read it. Bluff, he said, and a weak one. He drafted a response citing fraudulent rent collection, illegal lockout conversion of personal property, and misrepresentation of ownership. He also attached copies of the trust documents. The law firm withdrew within 48 hours. Linda was officially out of moves. When the house became hostile, I didn't go near the house for weeks, but neighbors started calling me. Linda blasting music at 2 a.m. or screaming on the lawn. Jenna crying in the driveway. They stopped maintaining the property. Trash piled up. Lights left on all night. A broken window no one fixed. One neighbor sent me photos. I forwarded them to my attorney. This is good, he said. It shows neglect. Linda was sabotaging herself. The rent money bombshell. Then Mr. Halvorsen asked me a question I hadn't considered. How long did you pay her rent? I told him. Linda did some math. You realize, he said slowly, that money was never legally owed. My chest tightened, he explained. Since Linda never owned the house and never had a valid lease agreement, the rent she collected from me was obtained under false pretenses. That money is recoverable, he said. Every dollar. I felt something twist inside me. Not greed, justice. The court date Linda didn't expect. Linda refused to leave. So we filed. Court date set. She showed up confident, dressed sharp, hair done, fake calm smile. Mark and Jenna sat behind her whispering. I sat beside my attorney. I sat beside silent. When the judge asked Linda why she believed she had the right to remain in the home, she said, I was married to the owner. Mr. Halvorsen stood, and the owner was never your husband. He handed over the trust documents. The judge read quietly, then looked up. Miss Linda, he said, you have 30 days from today to vacate. Her face went pale. And the rent? The judge asked. Mr. Halvorsen cleared his throat. We are requesting restitution. The judge nodded. Approved, he said. Linda gasped. He said, Part 4. The day the sheriff came, the notice from the court was clear. 30 days, not 31. Not whenever it's convenient. 30. Linda used every one of them. She didn't pack, didn't downsize, didn't look for a place. Instead, she acted like the ruling didn't exist. Music blasting late at night. Parties with people I didn't recognize. Trash piling up like a middle finger. She was daring me to blink. I didn't. On day 31, the sheriff's office scheduled the eviction. I didn't go alone. My attorney was there, a locksmith, 2 deputies, and half the neighborhood watching from their porches. Linda's last performance, Linda answered the door in a robe, hair undone. Mascara streaked like she practiced crying. This is illegal, she said immediately. I'm appealing. The deputy didn't react. With dent is Bei E Pling. Blam, he said calmly. You were served notice. You're past the deadline. Mark appeared behind her, shirtless, holding a beer. You people have no right, he slurred. The deputy stepped forward. Sir, put the drink down. Jenna started screaming. This is abuse. You can't do this to us. I stood back and said nothing. That hurt them more than anything I could have said. The house empties out. The locksmith changed the locks first. Then the deputies began escorting them out. One by one, Mark tried to argue. Jenna tried to cry. Jenna tried to cry. Linda tried to bargain. She looked at me finally. You don't have to do this, she said softly. We're family. I met her eyes. You made sure we weren't, I said. That was it. They loaded their things into a rented truck. Not everything fit. Some things were left behind. The deputies documented everything. Then they left. The house went quiet for the first time in years. Walking through what was always mine, I walked through the house alone. No shouting, no tension, no feeling like I didn't belong. Just silence. I opened cabinets, checked rooms, stood in my old bedroom. The walls were scuffed, the carpet ruined, but the bones of the house were still there. So was the memory of my grandparents. I sat on the floor and breathed. The rent money comes due 2 weeks later. Linda's lawyer contacted mine. They wanted to negotiate. Mr. Halvorsen declined. The court had already ordered restitution, $800 a month, then $900, then $200 over years, with interest. The total came out just over $48,000. Linda didn't have it. She tried to delay. The court garnished her accounts, her tax refund, all Theo hours and partais to dollar, even a portion of her wages. She called me once, crying. I'll never recover from this, she said. I didn't reply. The freeloader Fallout Mark couch surfed for a while, got arrested for unpaid tickets. Jenna moved in with a friend, then got kicked out. They stopped contacting me. I didn't block them. I didn't need to. Reclaiming the house for real, I hired contractors, fixed the damage, repainted, restored the house. I kept the kitchen exactly how my grandparents had left it. Some things shouldn't be changed. When everything was done, I stood in the doorway and realized something. The house didn't feel big anymore. It felt peaceful. Part 5. What she lost was never just a house. I thought the story was over once the house was empty. I was wrong. Linda didn't disappear quietly. She just ran out of places to stand. The last attempt 3 months after the eviction. I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. I knew it was from her before I opened it. She didn't threaten this time. Didn't accuse. Didn't scream. She apologized. Or at least something that looked like an apology. She wrote about stress. About grief. About how losing my dad changed her. She said she made mistakes. Said she felt entitled because she was scared. Then she wrote the real reason for the letter. She wanted to meet. One conversation she wrote for closure. I stared at the paper for a long time. Then I folded it up and put it in a drawer. Some people don't want closure. Some people, they want control one last time. I never replied. What happened to Linda? I heard about Linda through neighbors and distant relatives. She moved into a small apartment across town, downsized hard, sold most of her furniture. She lost her job a few months later, missed too many days, couldn't keep it together. The restitution payments kept coming out of her checks automatically, every month. She hated that part the most. Not the money, the reminder. Mark and Jenna fade out. Mark tried living with friends until they got tired of him. Eventually took a warehouse job, complained nonstop. Jenna bounced between roommates. No one stuck. Neither of them ever apologized. Not once. That told me everything I needed to know. The 1-2 million question. People always ask me the same thing when they hear the story. Did you sell the house? No, I didn't. I had it appraised. 122 million. More money than I'd ever imagined having when I was sleeping on a basement mattress, paying rent to a woman who didn't own the floor beneath her feet. I could have sold it, could have cashed out, could have walked away rich, but I didn't, because that house was never about money. What I did instead, I moved in, slowly, room by room. I took my time furnishing it, fixed what needed fixing, left what didn't. I put my mom's photos back on the walls. I planted a tree in the backyard, something my grandfather always talked about but never got around to. I turned One room into a small office, another into a guest room. The basement? I renovated it properly. No more mattresses on the floor. The rent money I got back, the restitution payments continued for almost 2 years. When the final payment came in, I sat there staring at the number. Almost $50,000. Money I never should have lost. Money I survived without. I didn't celebrate. I donated part of it, used the rest to set up a small college fund for myself at first, then later for my kids someday. It felt right. What I learned, the part no one likes to hear. Here's the truth. People don't want to admit Linda didn't become that way overnight. She got worse because no one stopped her. My dad didn't stop her. I didn't stop her. Everyone avoided conflict until she thought she owned everything. Power doesn't always look like yelling. Sometimes it looks like a smile and a demand for 800. The night it finally felt over one evening, almost a year after everything ended, I sat on the back porch. The house was quiet, no tension, no waiting for the next argument. No feeling like I had to earn my place. Just me. I realized something then. I wasn't angry anymore. Not at Linda, not at my dad, not even at myself, because the house didn't just come back to me. So did my life. Final thought, she demanded rent from a house that was never hers. She thought ownership came from marriage, control, and confidence. She was wrong. Ownership comes from truth, and the truth has a way of showing up even if it takes years, even if it waits quietly in a trust, even if it lets someone believe they've won, until the day they're asked to leave.